thank you everybody for joining us this evening. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Everybody mute your microphones. We will have time for questions at the end. If you want to ask them verbally, you can put your hand up at that time and unmute yourself and ask your questions. If you have questions that pop up as we're going through the presentation tonight, feel free to either jot them down and save them to the end or type them into the chat. Jeff is going to monitor the chat for me, and if something comes up that we can answer right away while we're on that topic, Jeff will let me know and we'll address that. Otherwise, we'll be sure to scroll through the chat at the end and try and answer everything that has come in. So I'll just let Joanne welcome us all to this evening's presentation.
Great, thanks, Dana. I just want to, of course, welcome everybody to the 2023 What's New webinar. I understand we have a record number of people registered for our webinar, so it's great to see that so many people are taking part tonight and wanting to learn about what's coming up for the year. We have, of course, put a tremendous amount of work into what we've done to get us ready for 2023. We worked really hard over the technical and fall board meetings. So there's a lot of really good information, helpful information, and I hope that everybody takes away something helpful from tonight. It's my pleasure on behalf of our board of directors to welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. And as you can see, I do look forward to another great year of baton twirling in Canada. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Joanne. So I'll give you a brief outline of what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to go through introductions, and then we're going to jump into our national and international competition information that we're able to provide to you at this time. From there, we're going to go into our athlete programs, our coaching programs, our adjudication programs, and our judging programs. Then we'll talk a little bit about the WBTF and the judging system that's being rolled out there. And then we have a bunch of administrative updates to provide to you. And then of course, questions and answers at the end. So I'd like to introduce our CBTF technical committee for the coming year. My name is Dana Pedaleski. I'm your CBTF technical chair. Jeff Johnson is our past technical chair. Maureen Johnson is our coaches rep and our WBTF technical advisor. Jenna Jemayev is our CBTF judges rep and our WBTF judges rep. Shauna Spencer is our athlete rep. Leisha Strawn is our group rep. Sarah Mujo is our SDP rep. And Sue Mepham is our sanction officer. Our provincial technical reps, as I know them right now, and I know that there are elections and AGMs coming up in the provinces, but this is as it currently stands. In BC, we have Kelda Piluk. Alberta is Jenna Jemayev. Saskatchewan is Elan Pollock. Manitoba is Kristen Macareg. Ontario is Deirdre Leslie. And New Brunswick is Brenda Arsenault LeBlanc. We have vacancies in Quebec and Nova Scotia at this time. And our education committee is made up of myself, Maureen Johnson, Jenna Jemayev, Karen Grattan, Jeff Johnson, Andrea James is our new member this year, and Joanne Moser sits on our committee in an ex officio position. So we're going to move ahead and jump right into national and international competitions. And the first event that we're going to talk about is our 2023 qualifier. And I'm going to ask Jeff Johnson as our competition director just to review and provide us with a little bit of information that we have so far about the qualifier.
Okay, so thanks, Dana. We're doing intent to compete. The process that we used to do for International Cup now applies to the Nations Cup and World Championship for IBTF. Those packages have gone out. The deadline to submit those intents to compete and the deposits is the end of this month, end of October. And also what went out was a preliminary hotel worksheet that's also due at the end of October to be sent back to office at cbtf.ca. The IBTF, because the World Championship and Nations Cup is in Liverpool, and because Liverpool is a very busy tourist destination, the IBTF has established some very early deadlines for all the visiting countries to put in their hotel requests and stuff. So that's why we've put the hotel worksheets out a lot earlier this year than usual, so that we can start to have a bit of an idea for planning purposes in terms of the size of room requests that we're going to have. So the IBTF qualifier for both the World Championship and Nations Cup will be held over the May long weekend. We CBTF did try and work with CNBTA to come up with a plan or a process to do a joint qualifier. Those discussions didn't bear fruit. So obviously we're still going ahead with our own, and CNBTA, I presume, will go off and do the same thing. So our qualifier is the May long weekend. It'll be in Oshawa in Durham College. And we are planning for a couple different hotel or accommodation options. And once those details are finalized with rates and everything, and once the hotels and the residents are actually ready to process our reservations, we'll send that information out. It'll get posted on the website, and we'll send it out to the provincial reps.
Thanks, Jeff. So moving on to our 2023 Canadian Championship. Again, Jeff is our competition director. We have a little bit of information to share with you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, so so I guess the two most important things are that Canadians will be in Edmonton, Alberta this coming season, and it'll be over the July 2nd to 6th period. July 2 will be the practice day, and then in the evening we'll do the opening ceremony, and then the remainder of the week we expect it to be scheduled and to unfold sort of in the normal schedule of things. So we've got the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th being individual and group and freestyle competition. It's not on the schedule there, but the plan is that we would have the Pride of Canada Open Clinic on July 7th. So that's in that period. That's all part of Canadians. And then the hotel arrangements, again, for that one too, we're not in a position yet to send the information out, but as soon as it is ready, we'll post that and get it out to the provincial reps. Both, I guess I should have said, for the qualifier and also for Canadians, both of those competitions are state of play competitions. So athletes and coaches are required to stay at one of the sponsoring hotels for the competition.
Thanks, Jeff. Moving on to the 2023 Nations Cup and the World Baton Twirling Championship. So this will be the event over in Liverpool. And I'll let Joanne speak to what she's aware of so far.
Sure, thanks, Dana. So just so that people know, I did send a quite detailed email to the provincial, I shouldn't say provincial, to the board and technical chairs and technical committee. Actually, I may have sent it to the technical committee to send to the provincial membership and technical chairs. That just gave a whole bunch of information that I learned from the IBTF webinar that the country presidents were invited to attend. So if you're looking for more detailed information than what I'm going to give tonight, the best that I can direct you to is that, and of course, the IBTF website. So of course, we all know we're aiming to go to Liverpool, England. Our dates are August 4th to 13th. You've got the details on the screen there of opening ceremony, Nations Cup, World Championship. Things that we want you to get on the bit with right now is that you need a passport, obviously, to travel internationally. We know in the recent past, that it's been difficult for people to sometimes get passports as quickly as they would like. So if your passports are expired or expiring in the foreseeable future or close to the time of the event, don't wait. You can always renew now. And then you know that you're not in trouble because you'll need it for your registration and entry, and of course to get into the foreign country. Also, we are going to have to sign the country medical sheet. So I sign one document on behalf of the entire country saying that everyone has produced their medical clearance certificate. And if you don't have that and you're in a place where it's difficult to get those appointments, again, don't wait. You will not be permitted to compete in the qualifier if you have not produced that with your entry form as well. I have already put in Canada's request for hotels for Liverpool, so I had to guess. The stuff that's coming back with the intent to compete will help me. I think I can always give them better information as I get it. I did put my top 3 choices, and those were based purely on proximity to the venue, so that hopefully we don't have to have buses to go back and forth from the venue. And then also size, the hotels that were big enough to hold the number of people that I think we're going to have in our contingent. CNBTA will be doing the same thing. I did communicate with them a bit. And their contingent is not as big as ours will be, so they have more options in terms of hotels, but I did indicate that it would be preferable to have all of Canada in one place on my application for our hotels. So of course, as I learn more, I will email to the appropriate people to distribute the information, and look forward to a great year at our international competition this year.
Great, thanks, Joanne. So now we're ready to move into talking about our athlete programs. I've just prepared a little bit of a chart here to outline the 4 streams that we have within our athlete programs. We have our skills development program, our pre-competitive program, the graded program, and our competitive program. And from pre-competitive through graded and competitive, of course, we have both individual and group events. All of our athlete programs are guided by long-term development. So CBTF's long-term development document, it's available on our website, and we've just recently updated it. So you can follow the link at the bottom or just search the website and you'll be able to grab that PDF. It's based upon the Sport for Life long-term development stages, and their statement is that a clear path to better sport, greater health, and higher achievement. Children, youth, and adults need to do the right things at the right time to develop their sport or activity. And the LTD is what describes what athletes need to be doing at specific ages and stages. So if you're interested in that scientific background, you can always go to sportforlife.ca and read up. They have excellent documents there that's really quite interesting. And we CBTF have narrowed that down and developed our own CBTF long-term development. So that's what we use to guide our decisions about our athlete programs. So first, we're going to take a look at our skills development program. And from the LTD, it covers our active start, fundamentals, learn to train, and learn to compete categories. So we had the initial rollout and review of our skills development program during last season. We have the written descriptions, we have individual skill videos, and we did hold a webinar. And super exciting that we have the SDP as the first item within our CanTwirl CBTF app. So things that are coming this year with that portion of the app is that printable athlete sheets will be an added feature. So if you subscribe to the SDP on the app, watch for that coming soon. And also we're just in the testing phases of offline use of the app. So once the bugs are worked out on that one, we will launch that. So you'll be able to use your device and see the SDP program without being connected to Wi-Fi or data. So we have 3 webinars planned this fall, and we'll announce those shortly. And we're going to focus on training the coaches. So we want to feature the skills from the first 2 ribbons, which are white and red, and the first 2 badges, yellow and orange. And we're going to teach the coaches some tips and tricks for how to teach the skills that are in the program. And we're going to outline the progressions from one skill to the next. And so you'll be able to see why a certain skill is in the low level and how it develops throughout the program to build into the higher level skill. So just a reminder while we're here, the ribbons are mandatory and they're essential to the proper progression of our skills. In our previous program, the white ribbon was optional. However, in this revised program, the white and the red ribbons are required prior to advancing to the yellow badge. There's essential skills in there that you need to teach before in order to have those progressions work throughout the program. We're going to continue with offering online adjudication. So one thing that came out of the pandemic that we're going to carry on with because it's beneficial is the ability to have your badges adjudicated online. So this is definitely club or province driven. It's not as an individual like we did in the first summer of the pandemic. So if the club or the province wants to host an online examination, they can do so. And our adjudicator rates will be increasing to $16 per hour effective January 1st. And if you're just doing it on a per badge basis, it's calculated as 1/3 of the hourly rate rounded up to the nearest dollar. So that ends up being $6 a badge. Moving on to our pre-competitive athlete programs, and our pre-competitive area focuses on the fundamental stage of the long-term development plan. So we did our review and update of the individual standard routines, and we rolled that out last season. The written descriptions for the handbook was updated, and that's available on the website. The demonstration videos were updated and are also available, and we did hold a webinar. During this past fall technical meeting, we did a review of the critique sheets, and that resulted in some very minor tweaks to a couple of the critique sheets. So for those of you that are competition directors or running competitions this year or are responsible for doing the score sheets, watch for the website. Those new sheets will be effective January 1st, and we'll make them available on the website very shortly. So just make sure that you are printing out and using the most current pre-competitive program critique sheets. And something exciting coming for this year, the pre-competitive program group routines were reviewed and the proposal was approved at the fall technical meeting. So the supporting tools for that, being video and a written handbook, are currently under development, and they'll be presented at a webinar. And we're just hot off the presses, we've got that webinar scheduled for November 20th. So watch your emails for the registration link for that. So this coming season is when we would want coaches to be using the routines and providing feedback prior to our final approval of this program next 2023 fall technical meeting. Having it run this year will allow us to put the final touches on the supporting tools and as well as incorporate the material into our coaching and judging programs. So if you join the webinar, you're going to find out more, and I'll just give you a few teasers here. The number of pre-competitive group routines has been reduced from 4 to 2. There's some content revisions to the dance twirl team routine, and there's new music options for dance twirl team. So I'd like to thank our CBTF group rep, Leisha Strong, and her subcommittee of the provincial group reps for their work on the revision. We're looking forward to that webinar in November to roll this out. Moving on to our graded athlete programs, and this focuses on our learn to train and our train to train areas of the long-term development. So we're not making any changes to the graded program. It's continuing to run as usual. And just a friendly reminder that the results are not public and they're not announced for this level. There's a suggestion for competition directors to review how your awards table handles score sheets and the distribution of awards, just so that things aren't laid out for everybody to see. And friendly reminder also for graded events, these are our level C and BN, primary and juvenile in the individual and duet divisions, as well as level C primary and juvenile group divisions. These are to be single judged. We don't need them to be double judged, okay? So if you're a competition director, please set up your set system so that our graded events are just single judged. The graded medals, you're expected to use the CBTF standard medals for the graded events because it is a national program. And of course, you can use up your old stock until you run out. So orders for graded medals are invoiced directly to CBTF first, and then CBTF will invoice the province for your order. The deadline is December 1st. I think at our fall meetings, we had indicated at October 31st. So that's great if you've got your orders in early. You do have until December 1st to submit your order, and there's a quick link on the website where you can do that. Just make sure you're ordering enough medals to cover individual graded events and the group graded events in your province. Moving ahead to our competitive programs, and these cover learn to train, train to train, learn to compete, train to compete, and train to win in our long-term development plan. So level BN are now considered open events only. So this means that they're not part of a provincial or Canadian winter championship, and they will only be offered at open competitions. So consider them in the same manner that you would have considered level C events in the past. So open competitions can have C, BN, BI, BA, and A, and our winter championship competitions can only have BI, BA, and A levels. Just a friendly reminder about advancements. This has been in place for a while, but it's always good to be reminded. Advancements in status levels from provincial winter championships will not become effective until September 1st of that year. So this applies to medley, solo dance twirl, solo, two baton, three baton, duet, twirl team, dance twirl team, freestyle team, and artistic group. And then for open competition athletes and groups, you freeze those as of May 31st. Until September of that year. So that helps with our Canadian entries processing and setting up the set system. And it also allows provinces or clubs to run open competitions in the time span from their provincials to Canadians without having to worry about changing of the levels or any conflicts with not being able to qualify because you've competed in a different level. Another reminder about extended music. So our solo music is only for BA and A solo and duet, as well as level BA and A two baton and three baton. So for level C, BN, and BI, the judges should stop judging at the beep and put their heads down. Okay, so you don't give any credit for material, and you also don't count any penalties after the beep at the C, BN, or BI level. Primary and juvenile solo dance twirl music. So the 2022-23 season, which we're now in, sees us move to solo dance twirl music selection number 2. That will be effective for competitions after January 1st, 2023. And of course, it remains in place for 3 seasons. So coaches, make sure you're using selection number 2 for your primary and juvenile athletes. Competition directors, make sure you've got the selection number 2 ready to go on your iPads or devices for your competitions. Compulsories. So we've had in place that in order to do C compulsories, you have to have your silver pin. In order to do B compulsories, you had to have your gold pin. So now we've just rounded this out, and in order to enter level A compulsories, you must have your diamond pin. We know that we don't have many athletes doing compulsories because we now have our short program in place, but we do have these, so it's consistent in all of our correlation between compulsories and our pins. And just, yes, you have to do your SDP in order. The only exception, are the rolls and two baton pins, which are not mandatory and they can be done at any time. The BA short program, just at the fall technical meeting, we have just revised the footwork for the back neck rolls so that it is consistent with the skills development program, our gold pin compulsory number 8. So more specifically that it is 4 steps, left, right, done in an arc. And you can finish anywhere facing between corner 4 and wall 8, whereas in this last season, it was mandated that you finish facing wall 8. Now it's opened up again to, sorry, it was mandated to finish facing wall 7, the back wall. Now it's opened up corner 4 to wall 8. And we are updating the video and the written description in the handbook, and we'll get that posted to the CBTF website for you. Another clarification regarding short programs. So we will allow an athlete who is doing BI freestyle to enter BA short program in an open competition if they're wanting to gain that experience and prepare for the next year, perhaps. Likewise, an athlete in BA freestyle can enter a short program in an open competition for the experience. So this is true when compulsories or short program are offered as a standalone event and not when it's combined with a freestyle event. Level A short program, of course, requires our athletes to wear that official CBTF compulsory bodysuit at all competitions. Our level BA short program athletes can wear the plain black bodysuit. Freestyle and pair, just a friendly reminder about our advancement scores. So a score of 35 advances an athlete to level BA, and a score of 45 it advances an athlete to level A. So the advancement will occur in the season following the achievement of the score. So not mid-season, causing an athlete have to change their short program and possibly music length as well. So it's the next season. And freestyle advancements are the combined compulsory or short program score out of 25 plus the freestyle score out of 75 for a total out of 100. Qualifying scores to get from provincials to Canadians is 25 to compete in the BI freestyler pair, 35 to compete in the BA freestyler pair, and 45 to compete in the level A freestyler pair. So our existing qualification procedures for team trials, which is the top 5 plus your provincial berths, still apply for team trials. We don't have a Canadian team trials this year. We're in an off year. So the qualifying scores listed above are what you need to achieve in order to continue on to Canadians. Just a friendly reminder as well to our coaches that we do have a chart up of suggested requirements for freestyle and pair, and tying that into our long-term development plan. And you can see it up on the screen there. This has been in place, and I do encourage coaches to follow this. We are planning an upcoming webinar, and we're going to dive into the correlation between the suggested requirements and the scores that the athletes are achieving. We did a brief study of that and presented it at the fall technical meeting with some promising and encouraging results. So we're going to offer a webinar to talk about that further. Content restrictions in our freestyles and pairs. So we are striking a subcommittee to review the possibility of implementing penalties for content restriction violations, and we will have a report to present at the winter technical meeting for discussion. So this season still remains status quo. There is no penalty judge or penalties for freestyle. That being said, coaches, we ask you to please review the content restrictions document on the website and ensure that the choreography of your freestyle and pair routines does not violate the information included in the charts. Fair play and true sportsmanship is our guiding factor here. Competition directors for you. If freestyle is offered as a standalone event at open competitions this year, it will be for critique or score range only. So to clarify, freestyle as a standalone event will not be scored nor placed at open competitions. Freestyle should be offered as a combined freestyle plus compulsory short program event if it is to be scored and athletes placed. We hope that this rule guideline will eliminate confusion regarding advancement scores, and it will provide consistency in the events offered from province to province, and positively it will give athletes the opportunity to receive their advancement scores. So if you're only offering freestyle, there's no opportunity, if it's not combined with your compulsories or short program, there's no opportunity to gain that advancement score. So to keep things clear, if you're only going to say, hey, we're just offering freestyle, then the judges will only give a critique. They won't give a score. They can give the score range. Music timing, just our usual reminder, since we're in the time of the year where you're probably editing music. Reminder to please verify the correct timelines for the events that you're editing music for. And then also competition directors, please time these events at your local and provincial competitions so that our athletes and coaches may correct any errors before getting to a national event. New events. So we have introduced the following events as minor for 2022-23. That's X-Strut, Twirl Team to the Gloria music, and Twirling Core. So you can offer these as minor events at your competitions, and you should be, they're only open competitions, of course. You need to use the IBTF age divisions, the IBTF levels, and the IBTF content restrictions will be in place. So we want to encourage our athletes and coaches to who are planning on entering these events at the qualifier to be able to get them on the floor, get feedback in preparation for the May qualifier. So competition directors, please add these to your offerings at your open competitions.
So Dana, just before we move on to this next section, there's a whole bunch of questions that showed up in the chat.
Okay.
All relating to this. So how about I go through those and we can just deal with them.
Thank you.
So talking about the judging, judging for the judges should stop judging for the short time limits for the, what is it, BI, BN, and C athletes. The question was, is there also a mandate for judges to stop judging level BA and A athletes at the end of the music?
Yes, that should be the practice. I know that's the practice at international levels. As soon as the music's done, if the baton's in the air, if the athlete has released that baton, same with the beep. If the baton's in the air and they're executing that last trick, it counts. The drop counts, the success counts. If the music has ended and they're doing their contact section and they're winding up to do their flourish and their last big trick, sorry, it doesn't count, and the success doesn't count, and actually the drop, if it was dropped, won't count either. So the beep is the stop for C, BN, and BI. The end of the music is the stop for BA and A.
Okay, and so then there's sort of a corollary to that question, which is, what is there, and what is the protocol to dispute a judge assigning a penalty for a BI or BN or C athlete that if for a skill done after the beep?
We do not have a protocol in place.
Okay, with the there was another question just for everyone, just in case they're not following the chat. There were a question about where were the written descriptions for the pre-comp events, so that it's answered in the chat. They're on the website. You do need to be logged in with a website account that recognizes that you're a technical member in order to be accessed, in order to access that page. And the pre-comp handbook that's there right now doesn't have the updated group routine in it yet, but it will. Okay. And then, so another question, with the white and red ribbons, do they need to be completed and judged by a certified CBTF adjudicator?
White and red ribbons are assessed by the coach. So no, you do not have to hire an adjudicator to do those report cards.
Okay. We talked about what BA and A athletes are required to wear for a short program. The question was, what do BI athletes wear for their compulsories or short program?
Oh, yes, of course. Black bodysuit for BI athletes doing compulsories.
And one last one. Oh, so just one observation was that CBTF should be developing a protocol to allow for challenging penalties that are assigned after the beep.
I'll make note of that, and yeah, we can take a look at that at our next technical meeting.
Okay, that's it for that section.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the coaching program. So I wanted to give an overview of what we have available, and I know it's been changed from what people know from the past. So I think it's important, even though we've gone through this before, just as a reminder of how we work through our coaching program. So we do have coach and training CIT 1, and we also have level 2 available that I'll talk about. This is a free program to members, CBTF members that are 13 and up. So if you have athletes, most of it's going to be athletes that are at this age that are interested or showing interest in helping out in class or a future in coaching, this is a great little program for them to be involved in. It's free. They will do a theory course, which is 5 short lessons on the education portal. If you're wanting an account there, send a request to registration@cbtf.ca and include their full name, email address, and membership number. The email address is the address that will be used as their username logon for the portal. So probably best that it is actually that athlete's or that member's own email address and likely not their parents, although if that's what you choose to do, that's fine too. Then there's some practical content, and it's 15 to 20 hours of in-gym coaching time with a mentor coach. So that's likely the coach that they are taking lessons from. And then 2 to 3 hours of community development. And that can be defined as volunteer promotion of the sport at public events, such as performances, parades, hands-on opportunities, working at tables or booths, schools, daycares, assisting at the low-level clinics and fun competitions, etc., just keeping them involved. There are no NCCP requirements at this level, and there's no formal evaluation. The feedback is just provided by the mentor coach. And the athletes or the members that are in the coach and training program, they keep a log of their hours, and then they upload that to the education portal in order to receive a certificate. So I just want to show you, once they log into the education portal, they will have access to this PDF, and it's a little handbook, and it talks about the actual program. It gives them the information that they need, that they're in the program. It will provide information to the mentor coach, and that's actually the student's responsibility to go and talk to their mentor coach and show them that they have this document. And it gives a little bit of information for the mentor coach on how to provide feedback to the coach in training. And then it's got the logs. So they log their 15 to 20 hours of in-gym coaching time alongside their coach and their community development. If anybody's interested, you don't have to just be 13 to download this manual. Just go into the education portal and register for that free course, and you'll have access to this manual. And then our coach and training part 2, again, it's free. There's no theory on this one. The practical content is, again, 15 to 20 hours of in-gym coaching time with a mentor coach, 5 to 7 hours of officiating and or administrative tasks. So under mentor supervision, we would define this as assisting at like a club registration, helping filling out rosters, doing a lane runner, announcer, or music person at a small event, helping with organizing awards, organizing athletes for ceremonies, preparing club information sheets, updating social media for the club or anything like that, plus their 2 to 3 hours of community development. Again, there's no NCCP requirements. There's no formal evaluation. Their feedback is directly from their mentor coach. And again, they maintain a log and upload it into the portal, and then they'll receive a certificate. So again, there's another handbook for part 2 of the training, going through outlining everything in a similar fashion. And then they have 3 sets of logs that they'll complete for this program. And then from there, and those are not mandatory or prerequisites to anything. The idea behind offering something for the 13 to 15-year-olds is to keep them involved and pique their interest in coaching around that age. But if you're older as well, you can do those if you're interested as well. Then we move into our coaching certification courses, Baton Twirling Foundations, Competition 1 through 4. And this chart just shows the prerequisites. There are prerequisites to each of the levels. I won't go into detail on all of them, but just a note that we do get a lot of questions about is, do you have to be 15 at the time of the course and for baton twirling foundations? And the answer is yes. You actually have to be 15 to do the theory portion of the course, and the theory has to be completed prior to the practical portion of the course. So yeah, the cutoff is 15. There's always going to be the, well, I'm turning 15 in 2 weeks from the course. We have to put a cutoff somewhere. So it's just 15 to start the theory. If you can get the theory done, then you're welcome to take the practical course that's offered in your province. And the pathway to being certified, there's 3 steps, and you do get credentials at each step. We want to reward people along the way. So whenever you complete the theory for whatever level you're at, you're considered in training at that level. So baton twirling foundations in training, for example. Once you take that in-person practical course, then and you pass that, then you're considered trained. So you would be baton twirling foundations trained. From there, you would work on your NCCP requirements and your evaluation requirements. And once you achieve those, you're considered certified. Now you can do your NCCP at any time along this pathway, because we know that they're not offered as frequently in each province. So it's recommended, that you grab those courses when you can, so that you have the certification and ready to be fully certified at our levels. The evaluation portion, so the report card for BTF evaluation was approved at our fall technical meeting. So the education committee is just in the process of developing the master evaluator program, the requirements and the process to be granted master evaluator status. So we'll get that, rolled out shortly. Any questions on the coaching programs, Jeff?
No, none were posted there, although there was a point I wanted to just bring to people's attention about music timing. And that is, as for anyone who's doing a group for the IBTF World Championship or Nations Cup, you need to be aware that the IBTF has done away with the 10-second leeway that WBTF had and that we still have. So, when their time limit is for a group is from 3 to 3:30, they mean from 3 to 3:30. They don't mean up to 3:40, for example. There is no more 10-second leeway.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, moving on to adjudicators. So we now have our certification for adjudicators broken into 3 levels as opposed to the previous 4. So A1 certification is yellow, orange, red, and maroon. Those are our badges where you're doing individual skills. Our adjudicators can focus on looking at individual skills and learning to assess those. A2 certification is gray all the way through black on the badges, not including pins. Again, building upon the skills of the adjudicator to recognize and assess both individual skills and starting to combine skills in those badges. And then our A3 certification is all of our pins. So building upon our adjudicators being able to assess longer sections or full routines in the case of our bronze pins, for example. So we've changed the method of adjudication in order to better prepare our adjudicators to become judges of the pre-competitive and competitive routines. Our current adjudicators have been busy recertifying over the past year, and they have a deadline of October 31st to finish that recertification. And then we are going to be launching our courses to certify our new adjudicators very shortly, and those will be 100% online to make it easy for everybody to hopefully attend and become certified. Any questions, Jeff, about the adjudicators?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to judges. Jenna was going to present this section, but I believe she is driving back from the ABTA clinic, so she has asked me to present on her behalf. So first of all, our focus meeting. Right now, the most recent one available is 2020. The 2022 focus meeting is undergoing editing and will be available in the education portal once that's done. So watching this focus meeting will qualify as an update for M2, M3, and WBTF Master Judge certifications. You have to watch it through the education portal and watch all the sections, including freestyle, even if you're not a master judge, in order to receive that credit. And you'll get updated effective to July 12th, 2020, which was the date of that focus meeting. So once we have the 2022 focus meeting available, you'll be updated as of that meeting date. Competition directors this year, you may schedule your focus meetings to be held virtually this season. We're going to test that out to see if we can save some time in the morning of the competition and hold this virtually at some time leading up to, in the week leading up to that competition. So Jenna is going to be preparing some guidelines for those type of meetings. It still has to be a proper focus meeting to qualify as a virtual session. And then judging lists, we have an online form for competition directors to complete. So just go over to the quick links and submit your judges for your competitions. That automatically gets forwarded to the judges reps. And so you don't have to send it by email. It just distributes to those people who do need them. Please try and send those 6 weeks in advance so that we can make sure that all the judges are certified and judging where they're supposed to be judging. If there's any last minute changes to the list, you have to notify Jenna immediately, please. The networking lists, you have to report all contact with all athletes and all coaches for the current season using the networking list form, and it's to be attached with every judge's contract for all competitions. So again, judges are to send that in, competition directors are to ensure that those are coming in. And you can amend and resubmit that form as your circumstances as a judge change throughout the year. A failure to report a contact is considered a breach of the judge's code of conduct. So the conflict of interest policy has been replaced with this networking list, and it is therefore the responsibility of the competition director to decide on the judging conflicts based upon that networking list. Two baton role model. So last season we added in the 5.0 routine to the role model video. We've recently approved the 2.8 that will be added into the role model for this season. So that video will be updated and ready to go for January 1st. The target of the little subcommittee that was working on this was to find routines at our threshold advancement levels. So while we would like a 2.5, this routine that they found that was good, a good role model was assessed to be a 2.8. So that will get added to our 2 baton role model. Training on the new IBTF events. So CBTF is exploring developing a training session on X-Strat, Duet, Twirl Team Gloria, and Twirling Core for judges to be delivered online. Either via a webinar or a live training session. That's going to be determined. Jenna's working to contact IBTF for direction and training materials. And just a reminder to all of our master judges out there that IBTF is offering judges seminars via webinars. They had one in September, October, and November. So go, I know Jenna's been sending out information when she receives information about those. So watch your emails for those, and also I would recommend, and I know Jenna has sent this out as well, make sure you sign up for the IBTF newsletters that go out, because they'll contain that information for you as well. Annual judging update. This is going to be something new. We're going to do an annual update presented by CBTF on Zoom. And this will be required for judges certification maintenance. And this will include Division 1, our former Module 1 judges. Our Module 1 judges never had any updating requirements in place. It was always Module 2 and higher. So we want to bring the judges together for an annual update, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page for heading into a competition season each year. Even though we're going to have this in place, judges are also reminded that they have to attend or view the focus meetings every 4 years to maintain their certification. And it would be great if you can update in that manner yearly rather than wait your 4 years and do it at the last possible minute. Unsportsmanlike conduct. So we had a subcommittee do a review of the unsportsmanlike conduct checkbox on some of our score sheets. So now we will have a specific 2.0 penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct witnessed by a judge on their lane. Score sheets are being updated and those will be posted. And the guidelines and the process for judges will be something that we review at the annual judging update. There's a little document that goes along with this to guide judges.
So there was one, there was one question here, and that was a question about where can competition directors find the criteria on which to decide if a judge is in conflict based on the networking list.
Jeff, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing that specifically outlines criteria, right?
Correct. There's no formal criteria, checkbox, so many points and you're in conflict. The idea behind this networking list and pushing the responsibility for deciding on a conflict to the competition director is because conflicts vary depending on the competition, when it occurs in the season, the nature of the competition itself. And so it's the competition director themselves that are in the best position to decide how all of those factors balance out and whether or not, it's their competition. So it's their reputation for holding a fair competition. And so it puts the onus on the competition directors themselves to decide whether or not they personally feel, based on what the judge has disclosed and the athletes that are competing at their competition, whether or not it's fair to all the rest of the athletes to have, any given judge any particular division.
Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, and then, sorry, one last thing. I guess the question is really, how will competition directors find out which judges are certified to judge the IBTF events? Is that something we'll put on the website or someplace else?
Yeah. Once we have our process in place and Jen is able to run the session that she needs to run to get people certified, we'll make sure that's indicated on the CBTF website of the judging list.
Okay, and I think that wraps it up for the judging questions.
Okay, so now we're ready to move ahead to the WBTF judging system. I'm going to introduce Maureen to talk to us about the WBTF judging system.
Okay, thank you, Jen. And the WBTF judging system is that much closer to being the way freestyle will be judged. There will be one more practice of the system, and that will be in the Freestyle World Championships in 2024. So what is being asked of the coaches that are entering athletes in that event is to create the routine, the freestyle routine this year, using the charts, using the new judging system, and creating and filling out the fiche. At the last World Championships, there was the system was tested, all the fiche were checked against what the athletes performed, and where they varied from the fiche, penalties were, or the score was adjusted. For example, if you say you're going to do a certain catch and it's not in the chart, that reduces the value for the catch to 0. So you're to create your routine from the material that's listed in the charts. That's how you know the value of each skill you're doing, and they must be listed on the fiche in the order that they are performed. Most mistakes this last test were made in the roll combinations. There is a chart indicating the potential combinations of A, B, C, D, and E rolls. Vertical rolls, you must pick 3, and you pick from the roll chart. And there's certain combinations that you can have and certain combinations that you cannot have. For example, you can't declare your 3 vertical rolls as a B, a D, and an E. You could have 2 Bs and a C, you can have 2 Cs and a D, that sort of thing. So you have to really follow that chart and follow that guideline of how you put it together. You can do more than 3 rolls, but you only declare the 3 that you want to be graded or count for points. The horizontal rolls, it's just 2 that you have to declare. And it's the same thing. There's the combinations of how to combine are set, and they don't want you to vary from that. Basically for the accuracy of the checking from the referees who are doing the checking. It goes fast. They check it on the fiche as the athlete is performing. They don't evaluate the actual execution. There's a panel that just says, yes, they did this, and yes, it is worth that many points. And then the technical merit judges are actually evaluating how they did it and awarding bonuses for things that are worthy of a bonus and deducting if there are errors in footwork, errors in posture. An example, for example, there's no bonus or error for a 4-spin. Now we're talking freestyle at the world level. So a 4-spin done on 1 foot without touching down gets its complete value. If you touch down on a 3-turn, there is a deduction. If you do the 4-spin with no touchdown, you get its full value, provided your posture is straight and your arms aren't flailing and you're in control, that sort of thing. There's errors, there's penalties for all those execution errors. But if you did a 5-turn and didn't touch down, there would be a definite bonus for that. So there's to be no touching down on the illusions. There would be a penalty for touching down. So you're going to be better off to do a very good double illusion without touching down than a triple illusion where you put your foot down each illusion. And that is the type of thing that the referees are looking for and assessing and changing the, like they would give you credit for the double illusion, for example. And a big penalty to take into consideration when you're choreographing the routine is that if there is a drop in the declared element, the value goes to 50%, half. So 1.5 points per spin, for example, makes it a very valuable 5 or 6 turn. But if you drop it, you would have been better off doing 3 turns with good control and maybe getting a bonus. So I think that what we as coaches will need to do is take that system in, have it in our method, even in creating solos. I saw it happen this year at Canadians that some obviously more difficult routines attempted scored lower than more basic routines well done. And I think judges are starting to give more credit for things that are executed well and without error than just the trying the hard trick. And they used to get a little bit more credit for that. Like in the early days, a clean 1-turn could never beat an unclean 2-turn. A 2-turn was obviously worth more. So that has changed. That concept in the judges' minds has changed, and it should change in the judges' minds too. The coaches' minds too, especially in the choreography. So they have to follow the requirements of the new system. The code of points, it's on the chart. Like there are 5 aerials that you have to show. So you can't show 6 aerials. And we are asked as a country to come back with a suggested penalty if an athlete does do 6 aerials. What should the penalty be? And so at the January meeting, at the technical meeting, the winter technical meeting for WBTF, I will have to say what Canada's position is or what we think should be I'm not going to do that on my own. I want input from people, what they think would be a fair penalty if someone does do an extra aerial. Another little interesting fact about the spins is you can't repeat. If you do, you can do an illusion in 2 of those, but you can't do an illusion in 3 of those. You can't repeat moves. A 1-turn illusion and a 2-turn illusion is basically the same skill. So you have to do a different skill. So there's a pure spin, a stationary complex, which would be a spin and an illusion or an interrupted spin, a travel complex, of course, that's the travel, a flat aerial, and one free, your own choice. 2 horizontal roll series and one horizontal roll series and 1 vertical series. They can be combined into one, the horizontal and verticals. You could start in horizontal, have an interesting pattern change, and finish with the horizontal rolls if you wanted, or it could be 2 separate systems. And this is so that there's a equal playing field for all contenders. They're all competing with the same restrictions. So I would like input from the technical committee, particularly coaches and judges, and we can decide on Canada's position on that topic, and it will be on the agenda. I think we're a little bit behind perhaps in exploring the possibilities of the roll charts and the aerial catches and releases charts. And there's an entrance and exit videos for rolls, which are worthy of bonuses. So I think there's a little bit of work to be done. And I think as a country, we have to get together and talk about this, not now, but I think if the coaches work on it individually, then we could get together in late spring and even through the summer, so we would know what we're going to suggest or what we're going to submit to the 2024 Worlds, because that our Canadian contingent will have to have fiche accompanying their entry form for 2024. And then this system will be, in fact, the judging system for 2026. That is the plan, and hopefully it'll come to pass. This system has been almost 10 years in its construction, so anything could happen. It could, but they feel it's been tested and tried enough that now the coaches need to get in there and see how they find it. It's a little bit cumbersome filling out the fiche for the first time, because you really do have to know the material and know their value. But the fiche itself is not complicated, but I thought maybe we could practice doing a fiche in a webinar and go on from there. And I do have a feeling that only a handful of coaches did the fiche earlier this year when we had the opportunity to submit. I think so we need more participation, since this is the way it's going. Ireland just announced today that their board officially adopted the new judging system as a country. Now, we haven't done anything like that, but maybe we should. Maybe that would make it more official. But that's sort of the latest of what's happening down the road. And of course, we're all kind of interested in Nations Cup. We're not thinking freestyle in Worlds, but it is coming. So I would ask everybody to just practice creating your routine from the rolls chart and from the aerials, catches and releases, and see what's available to you, because the catches have to be selected from the chart, which I didn't know that you had to. I thought similar would be okay. An under the leg catch to me is an under the leg catch, but it's not on the chart. It's on the chart under the leg in a leap. It's on the chart under the leg in an illusion, but just a ground catch with a backhand catch is not a catch on the chart. So maybe they forgot about it. That's why they're having these tests, so we can submit questions. And once it's passed from 2024, there won't be any changes for 4 years. So the time is now. And I think
thanks, Maureen.
I think that's everything.
Thank you. So we will plan for the spring, likely not in this fall session of webinars, but we will plan for the spring a webinar so that people can become familiar with the fiche, the ones that will be doing, the level A freestyles for the following season leading into 2024, because it is going to take a lot of work, and we will rely on your expertise having gone through it.
Well, and I do have the whole package that went out last year for sample fiche, so I can certainly send that out to anybody who wants it, and it's a 94-page booklet.
Okay.
And it has all the ins and outs of how to create a fiche, what the system is all about. It's very interesting reading, and I would recommend it to anybody doing freestyles, to any coach that's choreographing freestyle. And kids get to know the chart very well, and they know the restrictions for a Nations Cup, for example, better than I do. So I think we just need to get on board with it.
Okay, thanks, Maureen, for the update.
So we had one
Thank-
question in the
Oh.
chat about actually about the code of points. So the question was, will IBTF be implementing this code of points?
I don't know. Maureen, do you know?
I think eventually they will, because it's a merger. Like this judging system has basically been created by WBTF, but the organizations are merging, and we have to have the same system for judging. So that's a very good question, and I can't say yes or no. I'm very hopeful that that is what's going to happen, and that we'll all be judged by the same system, wherever our organizational roots are. When we're at the World Championship in 2026, everyone will be submitting a fiche.
So I think, so just a little bit on that. So 24 is the first IBTF World Championship that will have freestyle. And at the 24 World Championship, the IBTF has decided that the WBTF events, so freestyle pair, freestyle team, freestyle solo, and short program, will be judged by WBTF judges using the WBTF system. And they decided that the NBTA events, so rhythmic twirl, will be judged by NBTA judges using the NBTA system. So for 24, whatever WBTF says is how freestyle solo, freestyle pair, and freestyle team will be judged. For 26, no one knows, because really what IBTF needs to do after the 23 World Championship and after the 24 one is it knows it needs to do this, is it needs to sort of look at all of its events, because right now all the events are just from both WBTF, WBF, NBTA, they've all been thrown in the pot, nothing's been left out. And so they know going forward, there needs to be some overall rationalization of the events and the disciplines that are at each of the competitions. And for one, and for two, they know that there needs to be a single judging system that's an IBTF judging system, as opposed to the approach that they're taking today, which is each judge does their own thing based on the organization they came from. So by 25 for the baton twirling events, and by 26 for the freestyle events, there will be changes both in which events are included at the IBTF competitions, and the intent is that there will be a single unified judging system, which will be informed by both, NBTA roots and WBTF roots.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Moving on to our administrative side of things, review of the national competition calendar. So a subcommittee is going to be formed to evaluate our national competition dates, as well as review the competition season and timelines. And this committee will consider the international competition host country deadlines. As you heard Joanne speak to earlier, the deadlines for entries and hotel bookings is even prior to when we select our athletes. So it's challenging, to say the least, to put a contingent together to travel overseas. So we're going to take a look at that. We're also considering school schedules, and we'll look at long-term development and periodization. So the number of competitions and competition to training ratios with this committee. So everything's of course status quo for this year, and we'll see what we can come up with for following seasons. Just a quick reminder about announcing, this has been in place already, but you don't announce the name of the club when the group is taking the floor, and you shouldn't include it in the title for the group for announcing purposes, but you can include it for tabulation and program printing purposes. And you also have to include it on your music tagging. Just be aware also of potential duplicate group names from different clubs, because we tend to use the names of our songs when we're naming our groups. So here's our old approach. We always used the club name and the group or team name. The new approach is for score sheets and masters and announcing just to use the team name. And then of course in the program and tabulation files, you can use both the club name and the team name. Contact information, friendly reminder from Cindy to submit your newly elected provincial representatives to her at secretary@cbtf.ca. Of course, we use that information to create our group email addresses when our national reps are sending out information to contact the provinces. So if you don't submit your provincial reps, then you're probably missing out on some of our communications. Competition results, just a friendly reminder, use the quick link submission form on the website to submit your competition results after every competition. We do want all results. We do use those results to calculate Athlete of the Year awards and Challenge Cup awards. So if you're not submitting, your athletes are not being credited with their points. We do require graded and competitive events, not just your advancement scores. Okay, so we would need to see all of the athletes that have competed. You don't need to send in your pre-competitive event results. And hopefully this year we're asking that they all be submitted by Excel spreadsheet. It makes it easier for the analysis that we do and the data that we're collecting at the CBTF level, and also for verification and qualification and advancement. So a little bit later on, you're going to see that we're offering some tabulation programs. Even if you're not going to be using the CBTF tabulation programs, if you can aim to please send in Excel spreadsheets for your results submissions, that would make my life a whole lot easier. Thank you. Music tagging, friendly reminder, go to the resources library, music labeling and tagging to get the protocols for everything to be labeled and tagged properly. That just makes life easier for the competition music person to find the music that needs to be played. Continuing professional development. So that's our ongoing process of maintaining, developing, and documenting your professional skills. So the deadline has passed for submission of your last year's results, and we're just going through those in the month that's passed and the month upcoming. And then now you should be collecting your points for the 2022-23 season, and that's for all of our CBTF coaches, adjudicators, and judges. Videotaping for our education library, of course, we always appreciate new videos for any of the events for our libraries, and we would especially like to receive videos of badge examinations and pre-competitive standard routines this year. If you can please remember to videotape and just contact admin@cbtf.ca for submission method options. The easiest one that I find is you can get a link to upload. Make it really easy to get them off your devices. Competition phases. So again, coming out of COVID, we had our virtual competition phases, and there was 5 that can be offered. We are going to continue to allow those to occur. Of course, everything must be sanctioned, and I'm just going to update this little chart to remove the COVID references and just make it more of a general document of what we will allow. And then of course the sanction form is fillable. And when you're filling that out, if you are doing anything with COVID related facility capacity restrictions, hopefully we are beyond that, but you never know, it could pop up again, that you do indicate what type of competition, red, orange, yellow, blue, or green that you are running. The adjudicator rates, the rates, adjudicator and judging rates have been increased by $2 per hour, and this is effective January 1st, 2023. So competition directors, please keep that in mind when you're doing your competition budgets. The head judge rate has been increased to $25 a day. It was $20 a day. And again, that's effective January 1st, 2023. And we're just updating that judge's contract. It'll be available on the website shortly to reflect those new rates. I mentioned earlier tabulation. So CBTF is going to work with the provinces to identify chief tabulators within each province and provide annual training on and access to the new CBTF tabulation spreadsheets, as well as the WBTF tabulation program. And then we'll provide updates and reminders with respect to tabulation processes. So we're looking to get that onto the CBTF calendar based on CBTF stuff that's going on, as well as provincial activities. So watch for that soon and start thinking about anybody who in your province who tabulates at both local open competitions all the way up to your provincials who may be interested in receiving this type of training. Rosters and alternates. So if we're just going to clear this up, sometimes it's confusing in terms of the entry forms, and now that we're submitting on JOT form, just to make sure that things are clear. If you're going to list alternates on the roster for a competition, then they'll pay the entry fee and receive the award. In the past, we've done it as if you want to receive an award for your alternates, please indicate here. And it got a little bit confusing with the rosters not matching up to the numbers that were listed on the entry forms. So we're going to make it simple. And if you have them listed on the roster, then we are going to take it that you want them to receive award and you'll pay that entry fee. Communication procedures, just a reminder here that if there's questions at the individual or club level, we want those to rise up to your provincial rep. If your provincial rep is unable to answer them, they are to contact the national rep. Usually you'll get most of your answers out of the national rep. So coaches, provincial coaches rep to contact national coaches rep. Same for the SDP, groups, judges, and technical. If the national rep needs to go on higher level, they will contact an international rep if required. Working backwards, we also communicate downwards in the same way. We receive our international communications to our national reps. National reps distribute that provincially, and then the province is responsible for filtering that out to clubs and individuals. So we do have a governance / town hall meeting scheduled for October 30th. That announcement is going to go out after this webinar is finished, and you can watch for the Zoom registration details coming for that. And that'll be run by Joanne Moser, our CBTF president, to field any questions that you may have. We're going to accept those in advance to an email address, and then Joanne will review CBTF governance with all of us. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Our webinar calendar looks like this. So next Sunday, we've got the judges selection exams training presented by Jenna. So that Zoom registration link has gone out. Be sure to register for that one. It's targeted to our judges that are writing the exams for Canadians and qualifier, but it is open to any judge and any coach who wishes to attend. So feel free to sign up and join us on that one next week. The following week, as I mentioned, will be our governance, sport recognition, and town hall meeting hosted by Joanne. Special note on that one, it's 1 hour later than we normally host it. So that's at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Then Sunday, November 13th, we're going to do a play the game judging webinar with Jenna, and again, open to coaches and judges alike. Sunday, November 20th, Leisha is going to present the intro to the revised pre-competitive group program. And then we're going to jump into the 3 SDP coaches development webinars presented by Sarah that I had talked about earlier this evening. So that'll be the 27th of November and then December 11th and 18th. Still to be scheduled, but on our radar is that annual update for judges that Jenna and I will host. I had touched on requirements for entering freestyle and pair, and we're going to combine that with a Nations Cup restrictions webinar to be announced. And then Maureen at some point is also going to do a choreography session on how to transition pre-competitive standard routines into level C routines. So I still need to fit those into our busy calendar schedule, but I will get those out as well. And just watch your emails for the links to register for any of these upcoming webinars. We'll send them out a couple weeks in advance so they don't get lost. Save the date for any of our CBTF technical committee members. Our winter technical meeting is Sunday, January 15th. Of course, time will be decided based on our agenda. So just save the date, that date for a technical meeting, please. And then the CBTF winter board meeting is scheduled for Sunday, January 22nd. That's it for what I have to present. So if there's any follow-up questions that you'd like, you can type your question in the chat or use the raise your hand feature and we'll acknowledge you so that you can unmute and ask your question.
Okay, so we had one question in here. It's about the communication stuff, but also just in general, because we do have Quebec as a province isn't operating with a board. They're just operating as a direct member. And so the question was for provinces that don't have a board, which is Quebec, how do they receive information since they won't be part of the normal board technical committee chain?
Good question. Joanne, are you still on?
I sure am. So for right now with Quebec and Nova Scotia, I accept their communications directly because they don't have that process in place. However, we are working to get them reinvigorated and put that structure back in place for them. But those would be an exception to that structure. And absolutely, I communicate, for example, with Luke directly.
Thanks, Joanne. And I guess it would probably be worthwhile to also have a contact in each of those provinces when we are, you or I or any national rep is also sending out information. So we'll definitely look into that and looking forward to getting Quebec and Nova Scotia back into twirling.
So far, no hands, no questions.
Okay. Well, I will stop my show. Oh, I always have to hang on a second. I have to leave you with a quote. There's my quote for this one. Thanks everybody for joining us this evening. I hope it was informational and answered some questions that you may have. Again, if you have further questions, please join us for the town hall in a couple of weeks. And good luck to everybody this year with your twirling season. I look forward to seeing everybody at the upcoming competitions.